In this presentation, we explain why land assembly systems need to be improved and discuss how the necessary improvements can be achieved in practice. When we use the term system, we mean all system components, people, data and processes, not just IT. We should also be clear that land assembly systems cross many organisational and functional boundaries: the acquiring authority, the project organisation, consultees and landowners, the supply chain and the authorising body. So why not just business as usual? What's driving the need for change? At the end of 2016, the pipeline of infrastructure developments in the UK amounted to over £500 billion, and it's forecast to grow. A significant percentage of these projects require land to be assembled. Investors and end users, of course, want to get the best value for their money. For example, the UK government, in its strategy for the construction industry, is seeking a 33% reduction in costs and a 50% reduction in timescales by 2025. Also, the land assembly process needs to keep pace with the rest of the construction industry, which, for example, is adopting building information modelling, a standard for built asset data, to achieve these targets and improve construction outcomes. Increased development activity requires increased capacity. Improving productivity is one way this increase in capacity can be delivered. Acquiring authorities are seeking reduced costs and better management of risk. Landowners expect a seamless interface, and staff expect the tools they need to deliver the quality of service expected of them. These drivers seem to us to be compelling. So what's getting in the way? There's remarkably little standardisation, both within and across land assembly projects, possibly due to a perception that each project is unique. Whilst this is true, there are clearly more similarities than there are differences. Standardisation will not, of course, by itself improve productivity or stakeholder satisfaction. It does, however, support more effective knowledge transfer through high-quality documentation and training. It also enables effective investment in IT to provide wider access to data, together with process automation and control. It is therefore a necessary precursor to systems improvement. Independent research by CEBR indicates that standards, in association with resulting improved education and technological advancements, boost productivity and improve performance, and have supported a contribution of 34.7% to UK labour productivity growth. In monetary terms, this is the equivalent of £8.2 billion of 29 billion UK GDP growth in 2013. Similar contributions have been identified in France and Germany. So, what options do we have to respond to these drivers and help improve standards? Land assembly is an ongoing activity and, at least in most cases, ends up delivering the required outcome. That is, land becomes available for development. There may, however, be a desire to do better, for example, to reduce timescales, cost or risk, to reduce pressure on resources, to have better relationships with landowners, in which case there is a number of ways in which improvements can be made. The first option, as ever, is not to do anything. When things are going well or there are more pressing priorities, leaving things as they are is always an option. In practice, the land assembly process does improve over time, but normally in a piecemeal manner, driven by the short-term needs of a specific project, an organic approach. However, this option is not systematic and tends to deal with individual requirements in isolation. As a result, many initiatives end up not being sustainable in the medium to long term, and these improvements are not shared between projects. If mature land assembly systems were already available, they'd provide a platform for step change in land assembly capability. However, mature systems aren't available, so any step change would need to await their advent. A continuous improvement approach has the potential to maximise the value of investment in existing systems and data by building on existing capability. This approach can also deliver benefits early in the process. These benefits can then be built on in each subsequent step. Continuous improvement does, however, require commitment over the medium term and investment in improving existing systems. In summary, the do-nothing approach perpetuates lower levels of productivity and quality than could otherwise be achieved. This gets more expensive the longer it lasts. Organic change also perpetuates lower levels of productivity for longer than necessary. Short-term investments may deal with immediate problems but are unlikely to provide economic returns. Step change. There don't appear to be any silver bullets at the moment. Continuous improvement looks like the best approach, but how could it work in practice? As discussed earlier, there are powerful drivers for change, so the first step towards continuous improvement must be to start removing the barriers. As already mentioned, the key barrier to improvement is lack of standardisation, particularly data standards, as it inhibits technological advancement and limits transfer of knowledge through education and training, both of which are fundamental to improve productivity. Standardisation is about doing common tasks in the same way, to improve efficiency by reducing the potential for error, facilitating training, and in some cases enabling automation of manual tasks. Standardisation also allows for common processes and tools to be developed, for example, standard data capture and transfer mechanisms and standard reporting tools, all adding to improved efficiency and reduced risk and cost. The process can be initiated by any party or at any stage of the process. Unilateral standardisation can be worthwhile. However, the wider the standardisation spreads, the greater the benefits are likely to be. So how can standardisation be achieved in practice? To attempt to develop an all-embracing standard covering the entire land assembly process would be formidable and unlikely to ever get off the ground. Land assembly is, however, a series of interconnected processes, so an overall standard could be broken down into a number of component parts. A core data standard needs to be developed initially, which could provide the glue needed to ensure connectivity between a series of standards covering process components such as consultation, land referencing and compensation, amongst others. Developing a comprehensive set of standards in this way not only reduces the quantity of work and timescales, but can also deliver early benefits. There are also choices to be made regarding the pathway to standardisation. Making a British or international standard involves wide consultation and consensus. As such, this pathway is robust and promotes wide consent and adoption. It can, however, take a long time to publication, up to 4 years. A publicly available specification, PAS, also involves wide consultation and consensus, but can be developed and published more quickly, typically in less than a year. There are less formal approaches. However, convening a representative group of participants is likely to prove difficult. This may result in extended timescales and limited adoption. On balance, developing a series of publicly available specifications appears to be the route most likely to succeed. There would be little point starting down the PAS route to standardisation without there being enough support to make widespread use likely. As a first step, therefore, we need to assess the degree of support amongst primary stakeholders. Subject to there being adequate support, the next step is to identify the overall likely scope of standardisation and to decide how it can be broken down into bite-sized chunks. This will make it possible to identify the likely scope of the first pass. Developing a pass requires funding to pay for example, the involvement of a standards organisation such as BSI in managing the development of the pass, and ensuring adequate levels of consultation and consensus. An outline business case will help stakeholders decide whether they wish to sponsor a pass. A common language is essential for effective communication. However, local variants and dialects can lead to misunderstanding and confusion. An effective translation tool can overcome these difficulties. At Land Assembly Services, we believe that effective communication is fundamental to both the standardisation process and continuous improvement. So much so that we've developed a draft data transfer standard and the tools needed to use it. The DTS is effectively a blueprint for efficiently transferring any land assembly related data. It has the flexibility to accommodate the different ways that data is specified across organisations and projects. This means there is no need for anyone to change their internal systems and processes. Any organisation wishing to use the standard has to write an export and import tool to get their data into and out of the standard format. However, they need to do this anyway to send or receive any digital data. Doing this through the DTS does mean, however, that each organisation only needs to do this once to send or receive data from any other organisation that also uses the DTS. It also means that they can take advantage of standard validation and reporting tools. Using the DTS, therefore, reduces the effort wasted in repeatedly developing export and import mechanisms, provides a reliable mechanism for validating and transferring data, reducing the cost and frustration of transferring data by trial and error, and avoids replication of effort in developing reporting tools to produce, for example, books of reference, notices and plans. Land Assembly Services supplies the DTS and customization tool free of charge. It can also provide other tools for validation, data conversion and transformation, and reporting if required. However, a charge is made for these. We're currently looking for a client-supplier combination to trial use of the DTS to illustrate the detailed business case for its use. LAS is happy to provide its services and software tools free of charge for the duration of the trial. Please let us know if you're interested in participating. The main reason for investing time and effort in improving the way land is assembled for development is to reduce timescales and costs and to deliver better outcomes for stakeholders. Lack of standardization is the main barrier to achieving this. The development of a series of publicly available specifications will overcome this barrier by facilitating technological advancement and education and training. The basis for a first pass is already available in the LAS Data Transfer Standard. Thank you for your time spent in listening to this presentation. We hope you found it worthwhile, and we look forward to discussing this further with you.